I'm able to have very low cost of living in here. And there's a lot of sacrifices that I make too, but for me, it's worth it. I tend to be a chronic collector of things, which doesn't really fare well for someone living in a bus, but thankfully I have plenty of storage for my knickknacks. This whole thing scopes down and forms a guest bed. It's really nice to have 2 closets as a girl. It makes me feel like I have some freedom. There's so many different pockets of this country that I somehow landed in that now like hold a piece of my heart. No matter where I am, I feel a little bit homesick. This is my least favorite part of my build.
Will you join me? Will you roll? Make this house our tiny home.
I decided to live in a bus because I really wanted to figure out where I wanted to be forever. And when I first started, it was kind of my like 2 to 4 year plan, and it's turned into 6 years now. Come on inside. First place I'll show you is my water and shoe storage in here. It's kind of just like almost like a mudroom. It's kind of grungy in there. And it's a horseshoe for good luck when you're coming in the house. This is kind of the big command center. I only use about 4 of these buttons, but it makes me feel really cool that there's so many. I don't really know what half of them do, but that's okay. I don't think I need to. That camera up there doesn't actually work, and it came with the bus, but I figured I should leave it because a lot of people think that it runs, so there won't be any funny business happening in here. Up here is all of my mementos, notes that people have written me, stickers people have given me along the road, places I've been, kind of just, it's like a journal almost up there. It's always fun to look at and reminisce. I think I got this bus when it had 118,000 miles and it's about 167 now. So, been around. The bus is 27 feet long. I repainted it a pink color that's called Canyon Dusk, and then I put the longhorns on the front, and now I just feel really big and beefy and badass driving down the highway. I'm the same height as semis, so I get to like look over and, you know, give a little wave, and they're always a little bit confused. Least favorite part is it is really like loud and clunky, and this is an air ride seat. So if I drive more than like 3 or 4 hours, I start to get a little bit car sick. I had a bus before this one that was a short bus, and I could drive 16 hours a day and not be affected. So it's been an interesting transition to slow down in that way, but it's been nice. I was 22 years old and I found my first bus for $5,000, which was well within my budget. Bought that outright and then started building it. When I bought that first bus, I had pretty much no building experience whatsoever. Just kind of in stages, I figured out how I really wanted my builds to look and how I wanted my home to look, so that when I got this bus, I really was able to put that into practice more. Building this bus was a lot more streamlined because I knew what to expect and I knew what to do. This bus I bought for $8,500, and then I put, you know, $8,000 to $9,000 into the build itself after that. Now that you've seen the front, let's go ahead and take a peek at the back. This here is what I call the passenger seat. It's also like a cozy reading seat. Underneath here is shoe storage. I put dog food under there. Over here is my little handmade fireplace that is purely for aesthetics, but it's really cozy to be able to sit here and read a book or drink a cup of tea or coffee. My first bus had a true wood stove, but with a wood stove in a bus, you can't get RV insurance. And I have a lot of space in here for just me, so I figured that I would really love to have the look of the wood stove and the warmth of the wood stove, but also be able to have RV insurance. This flue is blocked off with a bunch of steel wool and foil duct tape. It doesn't go all the way through. It does heat up a little bit, especially with gel fuel in here, especially if you're sitting next to it, but it's not a true wood stove, and I just really wanted the coziness of it for the space. I had a friend hand make it for me. So I based it off of like a 1970s style Malm fireplace, and I gave pictures to my friend who does a lot of welding and asked if he could make something similar for me. And he came out with this perfect little stove, which if I ever want to use it like outside, it definitely can be used as a normal stove, but in here it's just not, it's not real. For all of my walls in here and all of my corners, I really wanted everything to feel soft and open and flowy. I didn't want any sort of really harsh corners. That feels very cold to me. I was inspired a lot by like Southwestern architecture. So for these arches, it's just a jigsaw and plywood, and then I routed out the edges to make them soft and put a bunch of wood filler in there. For the Southwestern architecture feel, I really wanted it to feel like cob in here or like adobe, which you can't do in a space that's moving all the time or expanding and contracting with heat. So I tried to figure out how I could make it look that way without having a bunch of cracks in my walls. So like I said before, it's just plywood, wood filler, and then matte paint, and a lot of sanding. It was a lot of days of sanding to try and get everything as smooth as possible. This is my little dinette here. This is a really beautiful piece of maple. All the surfaces in here are maple. This whole thing scopes down and forms a guest bed. So these come off of the wall here and fit in the middle, and then I can sleep here, or a friend can sleep here, or it can turn into a couch for a movie night, kind of whatever you need. My dog's name is Bo. He is 7 years old and he's lived on the road pretty much his whole life. So he's a true road dog. I got him for 35 bucks on the side of the road in Montana. Up here is my little knick-knack shelf. I tend to be a chronic collector of things, which doesn't really fare well for someone living in a bus, but thankfully I have plenty of storage for my knickknacks. I have lots of rocks and shells I've collected, some feathers, my plant that's not very happy in Washington winter. This I recently got at an antique store. It's a storm lantern, which I just think is so cool. It's not squeaky, but it's made for ships and hurricanes, which, I don't know, I saw it and I just had to have it, one of those things. This is my record player station. I have had these records with me since I was about 16 years old. The first year that I moved into a bus, everyone told me I had to get rid of my records because they'd get totally ruined, and I told them that I found them in 25-cent bins in the thrift store anyway, so they were coming with me no matter what. Underneath there is the diesel heater, and in here is parts of the diesel heater as well. But yeah, the records had to come with me. This is one of my favorite stations here. I also use this surface for silversmithing a lot. And then this is my little porthole mirror. After spending so much time in Washington, I feel like my Southwest vibe has started to transition into more nautical themes. But I also take this off and use it at markets when I vend. Full-time, I'm a silversmith, so that's kind of what I do. I'm a full-time artist. I work in here, I make jewelry and sell it at markets or sell it online. I teach classes as well. I feel like living on the road has allowed me to dive into that passion more and really figure out how I can make money with my art instead of having to just work a job to afford rent, to afford groceries, and to afford this and that. It's been really freeing to be able to figure that out. My monthly expenses on the road are pretty low. The insurance for my bus every month is about $75. I do have a 36-gallon fuel tank, so it costs about $150 right now in Washington to fill up, which is pretty pricey, but I can drive maybe like 450 miles on that. Right now, I'm probably only filling my tank like once a month, if that, maybe twice a month. If I'm traveling full-time, it's more like, 3 or 4 times a month probably. This bus is a 1993 International. It has a DT360 engine in it, which is basically International's version of the 5.9 liter. It's a 6-cylinder bus. I get about 12 miles to the gallon, which is really nice. And I think that I attribute that to the super singles in the rear. So normally this bus would have dual tires in the rear like a traditional bus would, but the person who owned it before me condensed that into one giant tire, which is great, but I did have one of them explode on me this past winter, and that was not very fun. My internet is basically my phone. I pay my phone bill, which is again about 75 bucks a month, and that includes a hotspot. I very rarely pay for parking. I've probably paid for a campsite maybe 4 times in 6 years on the road. I really just use like apps like iOverlander or freecampsites.net to figure out where I can park, or I'll just drive down a Forest Service road and find somewhere to stay. Right now I am living in a town, so I do street park a lot. I'm able to have very low cost of living in here, and there's a lot of sacrifices that I make too, but for me it's worth it. This is my little spice rack. Back here, the tile matches the tile that was in my little knick-knack nooks up there. These have magnets on the bottom, so they stay when I'm driving. This is my nice sink. The hot water heater is directly below this, as well as like my trash. Here is a little slider that has all of my kitchen storage in it. This is my least favorite part of my build. I just got really excited that I could figure out how to make a slider and didn't think about how annoying it would be to have to reach in there to get all of my kitchen stuff all of the time. So if I could do anything over, it would definitely be this, but I'm still proud of myself for making a slider door. Underneath here is my big fridge freezer combo. That came with the bus, which was a huge reason why I bought this bus. I was very excited about that. This side is set to about 34 degrees normal fridge, and then this side's on a different circuit and it can be set to 4 degrees or it can be set to normal fridge. So you can have both compartments as a fridge. You can do one side as a fridge, the other side as a freezer, or the whole thing can be set to a freezer. It's super energy efficient. The compressor doesn't turn on that much, especially when the temperatures are colder. And I built the entire kitchen around the fridge because it's the main part of it. For me, at least. I love to cook. I love to have a lot of food. I rarely ever eat out. So this was a massive score for me. This is maybe my favorite part of the whole bus. This is my like 1960s or 1970s propane Coleman stove. There was someone selling their bus on Facebook Marketplace. They were working on building it out and they were, I guess, giving up. And I saw this in a picture, like in the background of one of the pictures, and messaged the guy to see if I could just buy the stove, and he sold it to me for 50 bucks. So I was super excited about that. 3 burners, like I said, propane, the oven works like a dream. I've made roast chicken in here. I've made cakes. I've made nachos. I've made galettes, everything. I love it so much. I decided to do this nice rounded 5mm underlayment, which is basically like really thin plywood ceiling, to try and continue that stucco look. I didn't do a roof raise because again, it's just me in here and I have plenty of headspace and I'm a little bit of a lazy builder, so I didn't feel the need to go through this big crazy roof raise, and I didn't want more like air draw with being taller. So curving this ceiling was incredibly difficult. I mean, you're holding stuff up and you're trying to pin things down, and you can see it doesn't exactly match up everywhere. So that was a challenge, but I think that with the white paint, it kind of really opens the space up nicely instead of having like a tongue and groove ceiling that goes all the way around or a darker color. There's about 2 inches of insulation in the ceiling and walls. I had furred out my steel beams a little bit more. And then there's spray foam insulation up there, and then I wired all of the lights myself, did all of my solar, everything. I have 400 watts of solar, which charges a 200 amp hour battery and a 2000 watt inverter. That powers everything that I have in here and more. I could run power tools if I needed. I could run my hair dryer if I needed to. I can stay off grid with my water for probably 2 weeks if I was being conservative. My power is infinite. I am also able to draw power from my alternator, so if I ever need to charge up, I can just turn my bus on or go for a short drive and it'll power up my battery bank. My propane lasts about a month. So if I really wanted to go off grid, I could probably do it for about 2 weeks. If there was a stream nearby, I could go even longer if I wanted to. These are all of my closets and my bathroom. They weren't originally all gonna have these little fun motifs in them, but I did the moon for the bathroom and I thought it was super cute, so I continued the theme. There's some yucca in this one and then a little saguaro in this one. This closet right now is coat storage. I have some silversmithing tools in there. I have extra shoes in here. And then this is just like my normal day-to-day wear. It's really nice to have 2 closets as a girl. It makes me feel like I have some freedom. This is my bathroom in here. I have all of this storage recessed into the walls. It fits lots of like medicine, cough drops, all my skincare products, toiletries, hair stuff, whatever. And then my toilet in here is composting. I use these sawdust pellets in a 5-gallon bucket and then dump it at an RV site or RV dump whenever I have the opportunity. There is an outdoor shower, yes. I normally only use it if I'm parked out in the woods, and I have some pipes that get set up with a shower curtain, and then it's just a nice little hot shower. Propane on-demand water heater. If I'm not showering with my outdoor shower, I do have a Planet Fitness membership. I can also go to campgrounds, or I have a lot of friends right now where I'm living and I'll use their houses too. My first 3 or 4 years on the road, I was very solo. I didn't really attend any sort of van life gatherings. I made a few friends on the road that I traveled with, and they were really, really close friends. But it wasn't until a couple years ago that I actually allowed myself to dive into the road community, and I wish I had done it sooner. And if anyone's looking to get on the road, my advice would be to stay consistent with investing in community. Otherwise, it just gets kind of lonesome pretty quick, and you can get stuck in this cycle of almost like hyper independence, right? Of feeling like you can do it yourself, and then you're just looking around and you're alone and you're missing your friends, or you're wondering why you're feeling sad and anxious all the time, and it's because we're supposed to be in a community. Back here is my whole silversmithing studio. So I am a jewelry artist full-time, and this is where all of the magic happens. I am a completely self-taught silversmith, and I feel like that allows me to work in a space that's so small. I learned how to do it with very minimal tools, and everything that I need to work with lives in these 2 cabinets, these 2 drawers, and this little magnetic strip over here. Under here is my inside access to my garage storage. Right now, that's where I store my market tent, a lot of my tools, all of my camping gear. Right now, under there is all of my reflectix for my windows that gets put up at nighttime. I really like daylight and natural light, so I take them out every single morning because otherwise I feel like a vampire. This is my nice full-size bed. It's super comfy. It is quite a feat to get it into this little corner. I take it out every so often to wash the mattress cover and just generally clean it out, and it is an affair to squish it in there and even just make the bed. It's really tucked into this space, but it's nice and cozy. Back here I have my bookshelf, and then there's a big headboard hutch area where I store extra blankets, journals, any big books that don't fit up there, whatever needs to get shoved into a little bedroom corner. My favorite part about living on the road has been the independence it's granted me, the self-assuredness that I can survive, basically, the knowledge that I know how to build something. I know how to fix my engine if I need to, for the most part. I'm not a mechanic, but how to change a tire. Those things I feel like I wouldn't have really ever learned had I not lived on the road. Also, just the ability to see the things that I've seen. There's so many different pockets of this country that I somehow landed in that now hold a piece of my heart. And it's really beautiful and kind of sad to know that there's pieces of me that are scattered a little bit of everywhere, and no matter where I am, I feel a little bit homesick, but it's nice to know that I can kind of pick up and go back to those places whenever I want to. There's a lot of freedom, there's a lot of bliss, and I have made some really amazing friends on the road too.
If you like this week's episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and check back soon because we have new unique home tours publishing all the time. And if you'd like to join our team and get access to members-only content and unique perks, make sure you click on the join button below.